What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today, what I wanted to take a look at is my buddy Dakota Abroad made a video called Spilling Tea on the Language Learning Community, and I thought he made a lot of really good points in this video, so I wanted to kind of do a reaction. Highly recommend going. I will link his channel in the description below, but you can also just search Dakota Abroad. I highly recommend going and checking out his channel, but I wanted to get into this video, do a little bit of a reaction to it, and kind of touch on some of the stuff that he touches on. Of course, Dakota, always a showman.
So, for some reason, I didn't think about taking my underwear out of the scene. So, we're just going to do it with my underwear there. Hello, and welcome to the Language Learning Lounge. A little bit rusty. Is that what I even say? Hello, and welcome to the Language Learning Lounge. I'm your friendly neighborhood Dakota, and today we're going to talk about why the language learning community sucks.
Right off the bat, I just want to say, Dakota, this is the way it is. Like, Dakota always will do anything he can to make the video entertaining, and that is at least admirable in my opinion. Like, I would not doubt if he hung the underwear up to make the joke, because this stuff is very well thought out. Anyway, that has nothing to do with the video. I mean, it kind of does, but you know what I mean. Anyway, let's continue on.
It's not tea, but I don't drink tea. So I suppose this is going to be like really drama-y and stuff, but there's a lot of things that really annoyed me, and there's a lot of the reasons that I stopped doing languagey things for a while. But I just like it so much that I can't not do it, you know? First and foremost, let's just mention that I kind of got out of it for a while because I wasn't feeling it. I was kind of depressed, and so part of it was me. And
first off, that is a great reason to step away from languages. I think if you're not feeling it and you're forcing yourself, that is a way to create a negative habit. And anytime you create a negative habit, you're going to be, it's just not going to be good. You definitely need to step away if you're not feeling it. And I don't know. The last thing that you want to do is create any kind of negative habit around something that you love, because if you do, you're not going to want to do it. Also, stepping away has many benefits. A lot of times when I've stepped away from languages for a little bit, whether it be studying another language or languages as a whole, I've actually made tons of improvement because it's given my brain plenty of time to kind of catch up.
And part of the problems that I'm going to talk about were caused by me being depressed. For example, people not responding to me the way I wanted them to. But it's still, we'll get there. First and foremost, to me, one of the big reasons that the language learning community is kind of trash is because a lot of the people don't know what the hell they're talking about. Now, this is fine if you let everyone know that you're an amateur and you don't really know what you're talking about. There are plenty of people out there who are like, I'm not a professional, I do this for fun. That's fine. But there are people out there who act like they're a professional and that they know everything, and they talk about things as if they're truths, when in fact, a lot of what they're saying is wrong. I've actually had some videos put out there that have incorrect information or information proposed to be the optimal solution, but it really isn't. Early on, even in the beginning, I knew...
All right, so I can't remember how much further in depth he goes, but this is something I agree with extremely. I think now, first and foremost, I will prerequisite this by saying I love the language learning community. I love Twitter and stuff like that, but you kind of have to know, you have to be wary of certain things. And there is a lot of negativity and there is a lot of false information out there. Any channel that says this is 100% fact, that is 100% a channel to stay away from. Even a lot of your bigger name polyglots, so to speak, I don't recall them ever saying this is the way it has to be. Most of the time they'll say, for example, my buddy Moses McCormick, he tells you how he learns languages, but he doesn't say that that's the guaranteed tried and true way. Steve Kaufman says this is the way I learn languages, but he's never said, he says in his opinion this is the best way, but he never says scientifically, boom, fact, that this is the way it is. You do it and you're going to do it. They've all acknowledged that there are different ways to learn languages, so you have to be very careful. A big red flag of someone not to trust, and I know people do this, but it's actually funny. I listened to a podcast with Walt. I'm gonna butcher his name, Walter Kortvener. Anyway, huge YouTuber, very very good guy. He is against the webcam videos like this of people saying I speak 8 languages, because a lot of times it'll be someone will just write out a script and you hear a couple of words and that's kind of it. For example, a Twitter friend of mine, Kevin Abroad, made mention of watching one of those videos and the woman got to French and she literally just counted to 10 and then moved on. And it's like, I mean, like, I know how to count to 10 in Chinese, but I don't know Chinese. You know what I mean? So you definitely have to be wary of a lot of that stuff. That's a very, very, very valid point. There's so much misinformation out there. Yeah, so I agree with this completely.
Knew that something that might be best for one person isn't necessarily going to be best for another. And so I purposefully tried to mention that every time I said something was the best or most optimal way to do something, that it was the best way for some people, whereas people with different learning patterns and learning habits will learn better in a different way. There are plenty of people out there, though, who would say things like, this is the best and only effective way to do something, and it really gets under my skin. Now, if you are on my channel for language learning,
and with that being said, that this extends past languages. This can go to anything. I feel like for the most part, and I guess it does depend, but you kind of have to be careful, man. You have to also think about people on YouTube. Their goal at the end of the day is to get clicks and make money, which I can't, like this, I can't monetize this. I don't have the ability to monetize it. I'm not a big enough channel. But like most of the time, a lot of times people's idea is I have to get clicks. I have to make things that are clickable because I want to sell monetization. I want to make money and stuff like that. So
learning, you probably know some of the people that I was like friends with on here, and most of them don't do this sort of thing. You have to remember, like, at the height of my growth on YouTube, when I was getting 30 plus, maybe even 50 subscribers a month, I was going out and finding new people's videos to comment on every day. Because it's not about, what you put out there. It's about who you know, just like every other thing, which is fine. That's how the world works. It's about the connections you have, not about the content and the quality that you put out. That matters too, but it definitely matters more who you know and who you're working with.
That's true.
Not really
much to expand
So
on,
I have
that's
seen
true.
a lot of YouTube creators, small and big. And let me tell you, small people don't know what the fuck they're talking about, and big people don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Now, obviously, there are people who do know what they're talking about. What about them? How do I feel about them? Well, they're great. And a lot of them, when they post things that say they're the best, they will often mention things like the best for me, or blah, 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 whatever, mention that people learn different ways. Most of the people who put out good content will mention that, oh, this experiment I did wasn't a big sample size. It was just me doing this for a month. Like, you can't really learn anything, but this is what I think is true out of this. All these experiments that people are doing are just sort of like, they just like attention grabbers. They don't actually have any meaningful data in them. I hate to break it to you, but your 1 month challenge means nothing in the field of language learning. And again, I've been guilty of that as well too.
As someone who does challenges, this is 100% correct. You're not learning anything. Anything that tells you you're going to be fluent in a language in a month, 2 months, 3 months, and that's not a shot at Benny Lewis. I think what Benny Lewis does is great. But anything that's going to promise you fluency in just a handful of months is...
But I always try to frame those more as a fun thing, not like an actual like information finding dive into the world of language learning like some people do. But there are people out there, large channels, who kind of know what they're talking about. And a lot of them are selling you things. They want your money. They're going to tell you things are great because they want your money. Now, I'm not saying everyone's intentions are impure, but there are people out there who just want your money. But even these people don't always know what they're talking about. You have to remember, I have a master's degree and 10 years experience in teaching languages and like 12 years experience learning languages at this point. I don't know everything. I will never know everything. And I have a lot of gaps in my information. Even some of the basics I don't know some of because I just didn't work in that area of language learning or teaching. And I worked over here. And so you can be an expert in one area and not another. And people like to think that they know everything. That
That's very, very true. You absolutely can. There are some people who just master grammar like it's nothing, and then have maybe struggle with vocabulary. And there's people who know how to learn vocabulary very quickly who can't understand grammar very well. For example, me, I would say that I'm better on memorizing or learning. I hate to say memorize, but I'm better at learning vocabulary. I just struggle with how to use the words. So that's a great example.
It really got to a point where it frustrated me. Another thing about the language learning community, particularly on YouTube, is that the content gets really stagnant and old really fast. A lot of the people who put out videos on things are things that I know already, like concepts and new ways of studying and whatnot. Typically, they're not new. There's something that they learned new in school or something, and they're sharing it with people who might not know it, who might be more amateurish or casual in learning languages. People like me who do this for our schooling and our job, we spend time researching it. We know more than most people do. We know things that we would never use ourselves because you just have to learn a lot. So a lot of the times when people post a video, I'm like, oh yeah, I've read a study on that sort of topic, that sort of idea. I know exactly what they're talking about. So things just got really stagnant for me because of that. But then like a lot of these challenges and things that people are doing, it's just the same thing over and over again.
To touch on what he said just a second ago, and I think he goes. You know what? Let me see if he goes into that here in just a minute because I don't want to jump ahead.
And like some people put up interesting like update videos. Like I was doing one at the beginning of this year, and I didn't like how I was doing it. And the guy I was doing it with, we just sort of stopped talking about it. I don't ever know what happened with it. A lot of those update videos when people do challenges are just, I was learning the Japanese passive past or something. But they don't explain it to you. Like, either I want to hear about some new technique and see some new studies and something like I want substantial information. And if you're just going to update me on how you're doing, why don't you just like show me what you've learned instead of just telling me about it? There are quite a few people, myself and
yeah, so that's what I was going to touch on right there, and there are some channels that do that. As a matter of fact, a fantastic channel, which I'm sure anybody who would find this would know this channel, is Ophelia Vert. I always said Vert because I love skateboarding and I think of vert ramps, but I assume with the French connotation it's probably Vert. But anyway, Ophelia does videos, and she just released a video on studying like the something in the past. For Dutch, and I think she goes into examples and actual study. So there are channels that do capitalize on that. But I agree, and I'm guilty of the same thing as well. I try to think about giving examples when I say I was studying this, but I can agree with Dakota here. I think a lot of times it is just speaking, people just saying things, and you may know it's true. I know it's true. I know what I'm studying, but to you, the viewer, whatever. I could come back right now. It's been about a month since I've uploaded, except for, the video that I uploaded yesterday. I don't know when this is going up, but we'll say yesterday. And I could have literally come back and been like, I'm fluent in Russian and just not said anything. You know what I mean? So, like, what's going on, but you have to give examples. So, and that's something I'm challenging myself to get better at, and hopefully I can. Also, go check out Ophelia. She does super awesome content.
Included who will not speak foreign languages in the videos where they're updating us on what they learned. I've done it. Most people I've seen have done it. And like, yeah, sure, some of us do it, but
when I was doing my Russian updates, which I haven't done the actual full Russian update, but at the very, very beginning and a month or two in, I tried to always speak a little bit of Russian because that was one thing I wanted to separate myself on, was actually trying to say some things versus just being like, I did this, I did this, I did this. You have to take my word for it. All right, see you next time. So far, I agree with almost everything Dakota's saying.
But a lot of people don't. They just sort of go over what they learned. Like, I'd learned this, this, and this. Okay, see you. Like, why don't you give us some examples? Why don't you teach us how to do it? And like I said, I'm guilty of this as well. Like, I'm super guilty of this one. And now, last but not least, I recently saw someone say that they love the community because everyone's here to help you out and no one wants to, like, hurt you or anything. But that's not true. Like, this community, just like every other one, has assholes in it. When I was really trying to take this seriously, and
that's very, very true. I think I think everybody that I follow, the reason I follow them is because they are friendly, but language learning, just like video gaming, just like people who talk about sports, just like people who love movies, people, anything. You're going to have the elitist who, I know this better than you. I know, oh, you know 6 languages? I know 7. Oh, you know 7 languages? Well, I actually know 8. Oh, well, you know 8 as well while I'm studying my ninth. And that is a lot of the people, and you have to be very, very careful of that. And there's people who I think personally, I think corrections are great, but then you can tell if someone's coming at you and correcting you from a stance of showing that they're better than you. So you have to be really, really careful of that kind of thing. There's definitely a lot of negativity and there's a lot of elitism in the language learning community. You just have to steer clear of that. And I may make a video of great follows for language learning, people who are non-judgmental, people who are here to help and not here to cut you down. Actually, I'll probably do a video on that next, actually. But anyway, let's get back into Dakota's video here.
Like taking hours out of my day every day to go find new people to comment on and talk to. Like, I would reach out to some people to try and get some collabs done. And there's just a lot of them fell through. This might have been because I was so depressed, our schedules didn't line up. For example, changing scripts, I believe it was. She's in China. I feel terrible. Is her name Stephanie? We were supposed to do a thing when I was in China, and we didn't, like, our schedules just didn't line up for too long, and then we just sort of fell out of contact. Like, I felt bad about that. I was gonna do one with Ophelia. Like, we actually recorded videos for both of our channels, and something happened with the audio. It was terrible. And then we just stopped talking after that. And then there were just, like, a bunch of other people that I, like, had talked to, and it's like, trying to reach out to these people and getting completely ignored by a lot of them.
Also, side note, if you ever want to work with me, which I know Dakota, I try to talk to Dakota regularly, and that's, I would be lying if I said I talk to him every day, but I do like Dakota. Dakota, I would consider Dakota one of my closest friends that I've met online, specifically him and Aaron Cox, the guy that does Fingtam languages. But yeah, if this channel ever blows up, I'm at like 370, somewhere around in there, subscribers right now. If this channel ever blows up, I'm not opposed to working with people. Like, always reach out. I'm not opposed to working with anybody, big or small. I love languages. It might be a little bit tough to contact me from time to time, but definitely always feel free to reach out.
It made me feel really isolated in the language learning community. But just like and I've done quite a few collabs with people before. Like, I've done them. Like, I'm not saying I haven't, but it's just, a lot of the people in the community made me feel like really isolated, especially when I was trying my hardest to like try and reach out there to them. And like, this is people who were like around my, like, I don't know if they care, but I try to stick to people around my subscriber count because I know it matters to some people. I wasn't like reaching out to the people with hundreds of thousands of subscribers. And just a lot of them were just, and this is when I was trying to like not be an asshole on my videos.
Biggest thing, Dakota, always be yourself, man. Like, you're not a douchebag. You're not an a-hole, so to speak. But always be yourself, man. That's why I watched your channel.
Now I don't care anymore. I'm just gonna. So basically, we're all assholes. I'm an asshole. They're assholes. We're all assholes. Not everyone. There is still people that I talk to from the community, the language learning community, that I just, even when I was taking the time off, we still talked a little bit. Particularly, what's his YouTube channel? Seabolt Speaks? John vs. Japanese or something like that. He's awesome. We've talked a few times. We've collabed a lot. He's the guy I was talking about earlier with the challenge we were doing. There are great people out there, but there are also assholes, and people are pretending that there aren't. But anyways, that's a lot of what I've got to say. Basically, none of these people know what the fuck they're talking about. Just because it worked and you saw progress while you were doing something doesn't mean that thing worked. A lot of people will just do things, learn things, and assume it's because they did the thing. Even if that thing doesn't actually do what they were thinking it was doing. Anyways, I'm gonna get out of here. Thank y'all for watching. I've got a series that I'm planning to do about language learning and difficulties, but I'm going to try and spotlight things that aren't normally talked about, and I've got a really fun name for it. Mostly I want to do this series because I have a fun name for it. And so I wanted to sort of be an asshole to the language community before I come back into it, because whatever. So, if you liked me doing that, don't forget to do those YouTube things like liking, sharing, and subscribing. And whatever you do, don't forget to post your shitty opinions online for everyone to listen to and critique. I don't know. Bye!
So yeah, I agree with basically I would say a majority of what is in this video. Ultimately, the thing is here to remember is to be careful about who you trust, and just because somebody says that they speak a bunch of stuff doesn't necessarily mean they do, and just because their method worked for them doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And if it doesn't, it doesn't matter. It's not that big of a deal. Just keep going through, and just just stick with what you're doing. Don't change what you're doing so often. I think that's part of the big problem is people change. What is happening with my hair? Jesus. People keep changing what they're doing, and I think it can kind of throw you off. But yeah, you have to be careful. I personally, I haven't had the negativity that Dakota has in the language learning community, but I definitely don't doubt what he has gone through and what a lot of people have gone through. It's just kind of the luck of the draw as to who you follow. And it's just you can get wrapped up in kind of the wrong stuff there. So you just have to make sure that you're following the right people and that you trust the people that you're following. So because the language learning community, even though there are bad seeds, there are a ton of good people. As I mentioned earlier, Ophelia, Kevin Abroad is fantastic. Luke with full-time fluency is awesome. Think Tam Languages is great. Passions for Dreaming, I believe, is her channel. Angela, she does great stuff. Lindy Bots, Botez, I think. I can't remember how to pronounce it correctly, but there's a lot of good stuff. And I will actually make a video on channels and people that I recommend following who are kind of those good people to follow. Because if you follow the good people, that's when you're going to make progress, is because you're not going to feel like anybody's judging you. So with that, I'm going to end this video here. I just wanted to showcase that. I think Dakota does really, really good stuff, and I think that he has a lot of really, really valid points in that video, and hopefully you guys got something out of that. So thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this very, very long video, and I will see you all in the next video.